My name is Samantha. I'm 32 years old, a full-time ER nurse, and a single mom. And I never imagined that one day I'd be racing into a government building, heart pounding, hands trembling, desperate to find my daughter, Lily. That morning started like any other after a long night shift. I got home, kicked off my shoes, and headed to the kitchen expecting a quiet breakfast and maybe a few minutes of rest. But instead, sitting on the counter was a note. Just one sentence, written in my mother's handwriting. "Sorry, sweetie, we just couldn't take care of her." That was it. No greeting, no explanation, just abandonment on paper. At first, I thought there had to be a mistake. I grabbed my phone, frantically scrolling through texts, voicemails, anything. Nothing. Then I made the mistake of checking social media. There it was. A picture posted by my sister Victoria. My parents. On a beach. In Hawaii. Laughing. Wearing matching Hawaiian shirts with Victoria's kids beside them. But no, Lily. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just picked up the phone and called Child Protective Services. Before this nightmare, things were hard. But manageable. Lily is my world. She's 8, bright-eyed and stronger than any child should ever have to be. I had her during my final year of nursing school, and though her father vanished after the divorce, I did everything I could to build a life for us. My parents, Gerald and Marilyn, had always offered help, but their love came in layers, warm on the outside, cold underneath, especially when it came to Lily. They fawned over my sister's kids, the expensive gifts, the big birthday parties. But when it came to Lily, a used book, a sigh, and "oh, we're tired." Still, I never thought they'd abandon her. Last week, when the hospital called me in for back-to-back night shifts, I had no choice. I asked my parents, hesitantly, to watch Lily. I left meals, her medicine, her stuffed bunny, her favorite quilt. I even packed the star nightlight. I hugged her tight. I didn't know that would be the last time I'd see her for days, because while I was saving lives in the ER, my parents were boarding a plane to paradise and leaving my daughter behind. I arrived at the CPS office still in my scrubs, hair tied back in a messy bun, heart beating in my ears. I'd driven there on instinct. No call, no appointment, just raw panic. Inside, the waiting room smelled like disinfectant and desperation. A woman behind the glass partition looked up, eyebrows already raised before I said a word. "I'm Samantha Reyes. My daughter. Lily. She's 8 years old. I think she was brought here by mistake." She blinked. "Do you have a caseworker assigned?" "No," I said, my voice cracking. "I didn't even know she was in the system until this morning." She tapped at her keyboard, expression unreadable. "Name again?" "Lily Reyes. She was staying with her grandparents, Gerald and Marilyn Jacobs. They were supposed to be watching her while I worked a night shift. And now they're gone. They left a note. They're in Hawaii." The silence after that was unbearable. She typed something, frowned, then picked up the phone. "Can I get someone from intake? We've got a walk-in, possible unnotified parental detachment." Those words, unnotified parental detachment. As if my absence was neglect. As if I'd walked out when I'd been working 16-hour shifts to keep a roof over our heads. Eventually, a caseworker came out to meet me. Her name was Beth, and her eyes were kind. But her words were measured. "Your daughter was brought in by neighbors. She was found home alone, confused, scared. She said she didn't know where her grandparents went. We tried to call you, but the number we had was disconnected." My heart dropped. "That's impossible. I've had the same number for 6 years." Beth looked sympathetic. "I believe you, but the file said otherwise." The file, that mysterious, invisible report filled out by strangers. People who didn't know us. People who only saw Lily at her most frightened. Beth added gently, "She's currently with a foster family. Temporarily. But there will be a process." A process? No, I wanted to scream. She's my child. But I swallowed the rage. Because I knew, if I broke down now, they'd see a hysterical woman, not a mother, fighting to get her daughter back. Beth handed me a stack of paperwork thick enough to suffocate a dream. It's standard, she said. Proof of income, housing, stability. We need to confirm your daughter will return to a safe, supportive environment. I wanted to shout. Safe? Supportive? I gave Lily everything I had, every extra shift, every night I went without sleep, every meal carefully labeled for her school lunches. But instead, I nodded and took the papers. How soon can I see her? Beth hesitated. There's a visitation protocol. You'll be allowed to request supervised visits starting next week. Next week. I went home that night to a house that felt too quiet. Lily's shoes were still by the door. Her drawing, a stick figure of me holding her hand beneath a rainbow, was taped to the fridge. I sat on the couch, surrounded by her things, and cried for the first time since this all began. Then, I got angry. I called my sister. No answer, so I tried my parents. Straight to voicemail. On the third try, my father finally picked up. Samantha, he said, like nothing was wrong. Where is Lily? I asked, voice shaking. Where is my daughter? She's safe. Isn't that what matters? I was silent. We couldn't handle it. Victoria was going through a hard time, and we thought. You thought what? I snapped. That she was disposable? We didn't mean for this to happen, but it did, I said. Because of you. And then, something inside me clicked. They didn't just leave her. They chose Victoria's kids over mine. Again, but this time, it wasn't favoritism. It was betrayal. When I hung up, I didn't cry again. I got to work. Legal aid. A lawyer. Phone calls. Paperwork. Anything I could do. Because I'd worked too hard to lose her now. They may have walked away from her. But I never would. The visitation room at the foster agency was decorated like someone had Googled, "Make it look like home," and stopped halfway. Worn couches, a plastic fern, a box of mismatched toys in the corner. But all I saw was the door. I stood there, clutching my hands together, heart pounding louder than the ticking clock. Then it opened, and Lily walked in. She was smaller than I remembered, or maybe just quieter. Her hair was in a loose braid, the kind she hated. Her favorite pink hoodie was gone, replaced with a faded yellow sweatshirt, 2 sizes too big. She looked at me. Hesitant, cautious. I dropped to my knees. "Hi, baby," I whispered. She didn't run to me. She didn't smile. "Mommy?" she asked, voice unsure. I nodded, tears already blurring my vision. "It's me. I'm here. I'm so sorry." She took a few slow steps closer, then stopped. "Grandma said you didn't want me anymore." The words hit like a punch to the chest. "What?" I breathed. No, sweetie, that's not true. I would never." She stared at me, bottom lip trembling. They left a note. Then they were gone, and I waited, and waited, and no one came. I reached out, slowly, like trying not to scare a wild bird. "I didn't know. I was working. At the hospital. I thought you were safe with them." She didn't move. "I had to sleep in someone else's house," she said softly. "Their dog barked all night. And their baby cried. I wanted to come home." I couldn't stop the tears then. I held out her favorite stuffed bunny. Mr. Buttons, the one she'd had since she was 2. "I brought him. He missed you." She looked at it for a long moment. Then finally, she stepped forward and took it. Not into my arms yet, but into reach. It wasn't the reunion I dreamed of, but it was a beginning. A few days after the visit, my attorney called me into her office. She was kind but firm, the way doctors are when they're about to give you bad news. She placed a thick manila folder in front of me and said, We need to talk about the initial report. I opened it, expecting bureaucratic jargon. Instead, I found betrayal in black and white. The original CPS intake file stated, "Child abandoned by mother during multiple overnight absences. Grandparents reported mother as unstable, emotionally unfit, and potentially neglectful due to irregular hours and mental exhaustion." I froze. "Unstable?" I whispered. "Neglectful?" My attorney nodded grimly. "It came from your parents, their sworn statement, signed and dated." I felt like I'd been punched in the lungs. They didn't just leave Lily. They made it look like I did. They didn't mention that I'm a registered ER nurse working 12 to 16-hour shifts. They didn't mention I'd prepped everything. The food, the instructions, the nightlight, Mr. Buttons. They told CPS I disappeared. And the worst part? CPS believed them, enough to classify Lily as a child at risk. They weaponized the truth, my attorney said, twisted it just enough. Enough to delay your custody hearing and give CPS reason to hesitate. "But they're the ones who left her alone," I cried. "I was working. I trusted them. And now we have to prove that." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the floor of Lily's room, staring at her empty bed, the books she'd lined up in color order, the stuffed animals still waiting in their tea party circle. And I made a promise out loud. "They lied about me, but I won't lie down for them. I'm getting you back, Lily, no matter what it takes." Because now, it wasn't just about getting her home. It was about reclaiming the truth and taking back everything they tried to steal with one signed piece of paper. I didn't plan to confront Victoria, but when I saw her car parked outside my parents' house that Sunday, the shiny white SUV they helped her buy, something in me snapped. I parked across the street, marched up the steps, and knocked once before pushing the door open. She was in the kitchen, sipping iced tea like she hadn't just helped throw my daughter into foster care. "Wow," she said, setting the glass down. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect you to destroy my life," I replied. Her smirk disappeared. "What's your problem, Sam? I didn't do anything." "You did everything," I hissed. "You convinced them to leave Lily. You helped them write that CPS report. You told them I was unstable." She rolled her eyes. "I didn't tell them to lie. I told them the truth, that your schedule is insane and Lily spends more time with tablets than people." I took a step closer. "You had options. You could have called me, watched her yourself. But instead, you helped them disappear, with your kids, to Hawaii." "They needed a break," she snapped. "They're old, Sam. Tired. Your daughter isn't easy." That was it. "She's not difficult. She's a child. She's smart and sensitive and asks for nothing but kindness, which apparently was too much for any of you." Victoria looked away. "It's not my fault you chose a life that doesn't work. You could have married better. Chosen stability, like I did." I laughed bitterly. "You mean married rich? And moved in next door, so Mom could raise your kids while you drank wine and posted beach selfies?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're jealous." I stepped back. "No. I'm disgusted." I left without another word. Because the truth was clear now. They hadn't acted out of concern. They acted out of convenience. And if they thought I was going to let that stand, they were about to learn what real inconvenience looked like in court. The courtroom wasn't what I expected. It wasn't dramatic. No pounding gavels or shouting lawyers. Just silence, paperwork, and the low hum of skepticism from people who barely knew me, but already had their doubts. I sat at the small wooden table across from CPS representatives, my lawyer at my side, hands shaking under the surface. My parents weren't there. Victoria wasn't either. But their words were, in the form of signed statements and filed reports. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, adjusted her glasses and looked directly at me. "Ms. Reyes, I have to ask, why did your parents report you as emotionally unfit and neglectful?" I took a breath. Because they wanted to leave for Hawaii and didn't want to take responsibility. She raised an eyebrow. That's a strong accusation. Not as strong as leaving an 8-year-old alone without warning, I said. Not as strong as flying across the country while pretending she was fine. My lawyer handed over the evidence. Text messages from the days before the trip. Screenshots of my instructions. Meal plans. Medication logs. Even a picture Lily drew for her grandparents. I documented everything. Not because I expected this, but because I was a nurse. And nurses know how quickly things can go wrong. Then came Beth, the CPS caseworker. She testified calmly. Fairly. She confirmed Lily was clean, well-fed, and organized. That her room was stocked. That the only chaos was the sudden disappearance of the guardians I had trusted. The judge listened, took notes, and then she asked the final question. Why didn't you tell us sooner? I paused. Because I thought my family had my back. I thought being a nurse saving lives would be seen as strength, not neglect. I thought love meant something. Her expression didn't change, but her silence did. She leaned back. We'll reconvene next week with our final review. As I walked out of that courtroom, I didn't know if I'd won yet. But I knew this. For the first time, they believed me. And that was enough to keep fighting. The second visitation was scheduled 2 days after the court hearing. Same room. Same couch. Same ugly fern in the corner. But this time, I was ready. Not just with Mr. Buttons, but with a new set of clothes for Lily, her favorite peanut-free snack, and a small photo album I'd made. Just us. Our memories. When Lily walked in, she looked less guarded, still shy, still unsure, but her eyes lit up, just for a second. When she saw the bunny, she walked over, slower this time, and before I could say anything, she sat beside me. I handed her the album. She flipped through the pages. Birthday cakes, zoo trips, our matching Halloween costumes, her kindergarten graduation. She touched one picture gently. That's the day we built the pillow fort, she said. I smiled. You used every blanket in the house. She giggled. Just once. Then she looked up at me and whispered, Did you give me away? My heart cracked. No, baby, I said, holding back tears. I would never. Not ever. They left you. They lied. She looked at her shoes. But you didn't come. I reached for her hand. Because I didn't know. I was working to take care of us. I thought you were safe. I thought they would love you like I do. Silence. Then, after a moment, she leaned into me. Not fully. Not tightly, but enough. I missed you, she whispered. That was it. Tears spilled down my face. Because in that tiny moment, she gave me everything I'd been fighting for. Her trust. Her love. Her tiny, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, her mom hadn't let go. I wrapped my arms around her carefully, like she might disappear if I held too tight. I'm here now, I whispered back. And I'm never leaving again. That hug didn't fix everything, but it reminded me why I was still standing. Because even when the world tried to take her from me, she was still mine. The final hearing came faster than I expected. This time, my parents were present, sitting 2 rows behind, stiff in their Sunday best. Victoria didn't come. No surprise there. Lily wasn't in the courtroom, but her presence pulsed through my every heartbeat. The judge summarized everything. My full-time employment record. The documentation I had submitted. Beth's glowing report about my home. Lily's emotional response to our second visit. Then she looked at me. Ms. Reyes, this court finds that you have met all standards required for reunification with your child. I didn't breathe. Full custody will be returned, pending a transitional period, with therapy to support Lily's emotional recovery. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, my mother was crying. But not for Lily. For herself. Outside the courthouse, Beth met me with a smile and a packet of next steps. I could barely hold it together as I thanked her. Later that night, Lily came home, just for a trial overnight. She walked in cautiously, clutching Mr. Buttons in one hand and a small backpack in the other. She looked around, like she was making sure the walls were still in the same place. Then she walked into her bedroom, sat on her bed, and ran her fingers across the edge of her quilt. "It still smells like me," she whispered. I knelt beside her. "It waited for you." Then, after a moment, she turned to me. "Mom?" "Yes, sweetie?" "Can we forgive Grandma and Grandpa?" I was stunned. "Why do you ask?" She shrugged. "Because if we don't, I think I'll always be a little scared. And I don't want to feel that way forever." I swallowed hard. She wasn't asking me to forget, or to welcome them back. She was asking to feel free, to not carry their mistake like a weight she never asked to hold. And in that moment I realized, forgiveness wasn't for them, it was for her. It's been 3 months since Lily came home for good. The court closed our case. Therapy sessions continued, but now they were filled with drawings, giggles, and Lily learning how to speak her truth. Even when it's hard. My parents haven't seen her, not because I banned them, because they haven't earned it. But the anger doesn't sit in my chest like it used to. It's still there. A scar, not an open wound. And Lily? She's healing faster than I expected. She sleeps with the nightlight again. She hums when she brushes her teeth. She made a drawing last week with the two of us holding hands again. This time, under a sky with no clouds. One night, as I tucked her in, she asked, "Mom, are you still mad at them?" I paused. "I'm not mad anymore," I said. "I'm aware, and that means I can protect you better." She smiled. "That's good, because I feel safe now." Those 4 words? They meant more than any courtroom victory ever could. I fought for her. I fought through paperwork, cold stares, courtroom silence, and betrayal written in ink by people who shared my blood. But I never gave up, because sometimes being a good mother doesn't mean baking cupcakes or showing up with glitter signs. It means standing in front of the storm, fists clenched, voice steady, and refusing to move until your child is safe. So, if you're watching this, if you're a mother who's ever been called unstable, unworthy, too tired, too emotional, or just too much, let me tell you something. You are not too much. You are enough. And if you're willing to fight with truth, with love, with every shred of strength left in your bones, then you are everything your child will ever need. Just like I was for Lily. Just like you can be.